I see very educated patients, people that maybe they're a lawyer, maybe they're just in all walks of life, they're intelligent, but they don't realise that there's no regulation because they think, well, I go into the dentist and I assume that they're qualified. I go to the hospital and I assume that the person that sees me in A&E is qualified and regulated, quite rightly. So then if someone is injecting my face, well, surely they must be regulated and qualified, and they don't realise that that's not the case. And I see a lot of patients with complications as a result of that.
Okay, so welcome to another episode of the Late Aesthetics Show. Today I'm joined by Dr. Ben, who is based in Edinburgh, but used to live in London, but you now have a fantastic clinic that you've opened in Edinburgh.
Yes.
Which is really exciting because I think you're the first guest on the show that is from Scotland. Not necessarily, I don't even think I've had anyone Scottish, who is...
Kate Goldie, who is Scottish, just no longer...
She is actually, yeah, well done. And I'm half Scottish, so there
we
go.
Yeah, so am I.
What I mean to say is that has a clinic in Scotland, so that's really, really interesting. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So introduce yourself to our listeners, please.
So I'm Dr. Ben. I have a clinic, as you said, in Edinburgh City Centre, which opened a couple of years ago. We recently moved to a bigger space, rebranded to the Stockbridge Clinic. I've got a background in emergency medicine. Like I said, I used to live in London. I actually studied here. When I graduated, I moved up to Scotland, never with the plan to do aesthetics, although, as most people, I kind of fell into it by accident and found I loved it. So my background's as an NHS A&E doctor, and I still do that a little bit, very part-time, up in Edinburgh, because I still really enjoy it. But my day-to-day is aesthetics, so running a clinic, seeing patients, and also teaching as well.
So you obviously started in emergency medicine.
Yeah.
How do you go from doing emergency medicine to then branching into this medical aesthetics industry that you find yourself in?
Kind of by accident, like a lot of people, I think. So my journey was based on my own experiences, as I'm sure a lot of people's is. So I always had terrible skin growing up, so I was always very interested in skin. I really struggled with acne for most of my teenage years and early 20s, so I was always a bit obsessive about my own skin. And then I started having a couple of aesthetic treatments myself in my early 20s for a couple of things that affected my confidence a bit. And I kind of witnessed firsthand the transformational power of those. And I think anyone listening who's had a treatment, who's had a positive experience with it, hopefully, remembers that moment where, you see the treatment results and you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this sooner? And then when I moved up to Scotland, I really struggled to find a clinic that I felt aligned with what I was looking for. My values as a patient, I guess, rather than as a medical professional. So me and a friend, another A&E doctor at the time, I thought, well, maybe we'll just do some training and see what it's like. And then I guess the rest is history. I kind of got bitten by the bug, loved it. That was just over 3 years ago, and I've been doing aesthetics ever since.
That's brilliant. So you set the clinic up after, a year practicing, or how did
Pretty much straight away. I briefly worked in another clinic initially at the same time, but started my own clinic quite early on. Made a lot of mistakes along the way.
It's life,
as everyone has.
Don't worry about that.
But over time, just thanks to the loyalty of some great patients, managed to grow that into the Stockbridge Clinic, which it is now.
Oh, fantastic. So whereabouts in Edinburgh are you based?
So we're based in Stockbridge, which is it's pretty much in the city centre. It's a little kind of suburb in the city centre.
Nice.
It's hard to describe the equivalent, but it's beautiful. If anyone's ever in Edinburgh, it's like a 10-minute walk from Waverley train station. I'd recommend coming, even just to have a wander around Stockbridge for a coffee, because it's lovely.
I know, I did go to uni in Edinburgh, so...
so you'll know Stockbridge?
Well, yeah, but I was staying like Haymarket way.
You would, yeah.
So I was
not too far.
It's not too far, just the other end of Princess Street. But Edinburgh's a great place, isn't it? It is a brilliant place. My clinic is on the border between England and Scotland, and I spend a lot of time in London. So what I've found is what patients ask for in London is very different to what they ask for in the north of England.
Right, okay.
I think down in London there's a big trend at the moment happening around regenerative medicine, longevity, biohacking, wellness. But I'm yet to see that fall into the north of England. Are you seeing the same things in Edinburgh, or do you find that the patients in Edinburgh are very similar to ones that, let's say, you'll find in London?
I wouldn't say they're similar. I think every city, the patients and their attitudes to treatment is probably shaped by the kind of culture within that city. So in Scotland, for example, the patient group and the population in Glasgow is very different to Edinburgh, even though it's 45 minutes away. Edinburgh's quite a conservative city still. That being said, patients are, I would say, receptive to a lot of regenerative focuses. And I mean, in our clinic, we do have a very strong regenerative focus with treatments. I'd say in Edinburgh, my experience certainly is once the patient has decided to trust you, they are very up for exploring their treatment options. And that might be newer trending treatments, maybe things with a more regenerative focus like you've mentioned, rather than traditional things. But I agree, they're probably less likely than patients in London to be the true early adopters of things like that.
Yeah, and I think it's very much that you have to do the bulk of the education for those patients, whereas the difference with London and patients, let's say, listening that are based in the South is they'll typically do their own research first and ask you the questions. Whereas I think the roles are definitely reversed the more north in the country.
Patients are definitely doing their own research, though. Yes. I am seeing that a lot. And it's not always research from the correct sources necessarily. That's obviously not a patient criticism, because a lot of where would you know where to look because you're not the expert. So I think there's probably a double-edged sword to that. Whilst you can definitely have more informed patients in cities like London, perhaps you might have more misinformed patients as well. Yeah,
exactly. So it's a double-edged sword then, isn't it? How do you handle the whole education process when it comes to the patient? So let's say you have a patient coming into your clinic, very first time. What's the process, and do you place a big emphasis on educating them?
Yeah, I think it's really important for the patient to be educated, but also for us to be educated about why they've come in. It's very easy to get this kind of tunnel vision, particularly when you're a new aesthetic, clinician. I definitely was guilty of this earlier on, of saying, oh great, I've got this new patient and this is what they want to come in for, great, let's do it. Rather than actually just taking a step back and exploring, well, what's prompted them to come in? What was the trigger? Why are they here? What is their actual concern? Because I'd say 8 or 9 times out of 10, the treatment that they've maybe come in suggesting that they might want is not the thing that's going to be the best for their concern. So I think patient education is key. And really that just comes down to the consultation. I know you've had people on like Cameron talking about the importance of the consultation, and it's vital. And having a good, robust, all my new patients, we will have a 30-minute proper just sit down and chat consultation. And we often don't do treatment on that day for them, where I just want them to ask any questions. They leave armed with leaflets and information, but I also want to know about them. I want to be educated about why they've come to see me and what's prompted them to come in. Yeah,
exactly. So let's talk about regulation.
Okay.
Because
hot topic.
Yes, it is a very hot topic, and I think it's becoming more and more spoken about, which I suppose is a good thing because it's raising awareness. I think one of the biggest problems that we might face in the UK, well, for those listening, we are not regulated when it comes to the medical aesthetics industry in the UK. But I think the fact that Scotland and England will have their own set of rules is highly confusing.
Yeah, it really is.
And Wales as well.
Well, we already do have difference. So in Scotland, it's harder for healthcare professionals to go into aesthetic medicine than it is in England, because we all have to practice from what's called a HIS, registered premises, which is our equivalent in Scotland of the CQC. Yeah. So it would be like in England, every doctor, dentist, nurse, pharmacist having to be CQC registered, which is a long process to go through.
Yes, it is.
And in Scotland, that's definitely a barrier to, I think, more medical professionals going into aesthetic medicine. The problem then is that there isn't a barrier to non-medical professionals, so the ratio of the non-medical injectors to the clinicians we've got is really, really kind of tipped in favour of the non-medics. And I think, the proposals from the respective governments have highlighted that perhaps Scotland are going to be a little bit stricter with their proposed kind of regulatory schemes that they're, at the end of the day, these are consultations. We don't actually know what these rules are going to look like.
Exactly.
I don't think either of them are strict enough personally, but I think Scotland is going to be a little bit further along than England. But it's probably going to create a bit of a culture where maybe people are travelling for treatment, maybe people are practicing in different areas, depending on what they're allowed to do, which is a shame because that's going to make it harder for patients.
So you're telling me there's more consequences if you're a medical practitioner and decide to start injecting in a non-regulated premises than there is if, let's say, you were a non-medic of any background or whatever, you went and did a 2-day course, you can then start injecting as soon as and have no one to answer to, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
So as a healthcare professional in Scotland, if you went started set up an aesthetic clinic, let's say, in a room in your house or an environment that hadn't gone through that regulatory approval process, you could get in a lot of trouble. Theoretically, with your regulatory bodies, you could probably be struck off. I mean, I don't know anyone that it's happened to, because we are all very aware of that, and we all then go through those processes and follow those rules. But your average man, woman from the street can just do that. It doesn't even need to be a 2-day course. It could be something online and then just set up in the garage.
And it's not illegal for them to do it.
No, it's totally legal.
Yeah.
It's totally legal. And this is what's so difficult for patients, because I see very educated patients, people that maybe they're a lawyer, maybe they're just in all walks of life, they're intelligent, but they don't realise that there's no regulation, because they think, well, I go into the dentist and I assume that they're qualified. I go to the hospital and I assume that the person that sees me in A&E is qualified and regulated, quite rightly. So then if someone is injecting my face, well, surely they must be regulated and qualified. And they don't realise that that's not the case. And I see a lot of patients with complications as a result of that, because they've naively, but to no fault their own, assumed that someone was perhaps a bit more competent than they are.
Because it is, look, I think it's psychologically, if someone's holding a needle and putting,
you think they must be medical.
You would think that, you'd probably draw the conclusion.
And in every other country in the world, it's mad that they're not. But we're such an outlier in the UK.
So have you actually had to deal with real complications?
Yeah.
And is that a regular occurrence?
It's becoming more regular, I think, which is a real shame for patients. Luckily, the majority I've seen who've come to, and these aren't, I'm certainly not out there looking for them. These are people that have,
found you because they've got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, for help. Either acutely, there's been a couple in emergency situations, or there's been people who've come with problems down the line. Thankfully, they're all people that we've been able to help, but there's been situations where we really don't have a clue what's been injected into the patient's face.
Yeah.
We don't know the environment that was injected in. We don't know the qualifications or the background of this practitioner.
Wow.
So it's really difficult then to manage what's become a medical problem if you don't have those facts.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, I've always said, you need to be able to deal with the complication.
Yeah.
That's ultimately, don't worry about, everything's great.
That's the safe bit.
Perfect, yeah, but the safety aspect's definitely the complication.
It's all perfect until something goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of the time, non-medical practitioners, they don't really understand the whole consultation process. And that's not generalising, that's just saying sometimes because they don't have the medical insight to say whether that patient should have treatment, should they have that treatment, or should they not have that treatment.
Anyone can learn a skill.
Yeah.
And I always say, to be a really good aesthetic clinician, you need 2 things. You need a healthcare background, and that provides safety and regulation, and that's to protect patients. So that, for example, for me, that's the General Medical Council. I'm on their register, and that's to protect patients. So if I go rogue, they're going to be interested, and they could strike me off. The irony being, I could then continue to practice aesthetics in the UK, but we'll put that to one side.
I know some practitioners that have done that as well.
Which is ridiculous. You need that, but that doesn't automatically make someone a good injector, just because someone's a healthcare professional. You do need a degree of artistic skill, and that is learnt. And the problem is there are non-medical professionals who've got great artistic skill.
Yeah.
They've learned that.
Yeah.
Because you can learn that.
Yeah.
If you've got that flair, if you're creative, you can learn to inject a face. But what you don't have is that fundamental underlying network of safety that being a healthcare professional. And it's that teaches you how to do a consultation safely, how to look at a patient's medications and understand which might interact with them, how to assess someone's mental state.
Yeah.
So it's not that 2-day aesthetics course that's taught healthcare professionals to do that. It's the 6 years of med school, the years of being a doctor afterwards, your dental degree, your nursing qualifications. And I think that's where that kind of medic versus non-medic argument really falls down. People just fail to recognise that. Very,
very well said. Have you ever had to turn a patient away? Like maybe they've come in requesting a treatment, not suitable for the treatment?
All the time, every day.
And is that
I think
a normal
everyone
occurrence?
does. Yeah, I imagine everyone does, and I'd probably be quite worried if
people didn't.
Someone wasn't doing that. Whether that's advising a patient that an alternative treatment might be suitable for their concerns, whether that's surgical or non-surgical. So frequently a patient will come in and I'll say, I think you should actually consider a surgical consultation, and I can provide a list of names that I can recommend to patients if they've got significant concerns that I don't feel are going to be addressed non-surgically. Or it might just be that they're not the suitable patient for that. And actually most patients take that pretty well.
Yeah.
I think patients value that.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think it's nice to know that someone's got your interests at heart rather than just out for your money.
Of course they do. They value the honesty.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what they're coming to see you for, is an honest, ethical approach. Leading into an honest, ethical approach, you would have seen on social media, there's a lot of trends that happen all the time, right? Constant trends. I think every single week there's a new trend on TikTok. Have you seen any trends on TikTok that you're like, whoa, what is that?
Yes, there was that I mean, there's this whole kind of anti-sunscreen thing, which I know has probably been discussed already with some of your other guests, so we won't go into that, but it's probably quite clear where we stand on that. But then there's people making their own skincare, like DIY skincare. And this idea that really bugs me about that is that somehow natural is safer than, you know, maybe a kind of pharmaceutical product or a cosmeceutical product or a cosmetic product that's been tested, regulated, tested, stabilised.
Exactly. Is there one specific trend on TikTok that really, really bothers you or concerns you?
Yes. I mean, obviously the whole anti-sunscreen propaganda that's being spread, but we won't dwell on that because everyone can probably guess where we stand. It's probably this trend of DIY or natural skincare, because there's all these claims from these wellness influencers or I don't know, just influencers in general on TikTok or Instagram that natural is somehow better and safer, as if, you know, cosmetic products haven't gone through rigorous formulation, testing, stabilization, and are designed for a specific concern. You know, so people putting beef tallow on their face, and like that's just animal fat. Like, would you put lard on your face? I don't think you would.
No, you wouldn't. Definitely.
And yet
not.
Somehow this was being hailed as like, oh, this is the natural cure-all. Well, and someone's trying to sell something. This is what
exactly.
You know, this influencer is trying to sell a natural product.
100%. And I've seen devices at home. They're like at home, like blenders almost, where you can put different fruits in there,
and it will a face mask.
And it makes a face mask. Yeah. And then you just put that on your face. Like, how is that a substitute or an alternative?
Well, I mean, fruit acids might like exfoliate your face, I guess, but why don't you use like a well-formulated chemical exfoliant that we know really works and that isn't going to irritate your skin?
Yeah, no, I
just
get
eat
that.
The fruit. That's good for your skin.
I mean, I get the whole cucumbers, eyes, depuffy. It's iconic. I understand that, but it's not really going to replicate what a specific product that has been through various testing is going to do.
But people like the hope of something natural fixing their problems, so I don't blame people for trying it, but you know, it's not going to work.
But even there's been trends like, for example, like, you know, when the Barbie film came out and there was things like Barbie Botox that started becoming a thing. What even is that?
So that's using botulinum toxin. Yeah. So Botox is obviously a brand name of botulinum toxin to relax the trapezius muscles, which are these muscles in our shoulders, which are very important for holding our head and neck up.
Yeah.
But when they're trained and become stronger, they grow, right? So a lot of people, for example, if you weightlift, are trying to grow them. But people, if they maybe want a really slim neck, like a Barbie doll, they don't want these bulky trapezius muscles. So you can inject botulinum toxin into the muscles to weaken them and shrink them down. I personally don't agree with doing that for cosmetic reasons because, like I said, these muscles are very important for posture, for holding your head and neck up. So I don't think we should be necessarily weakening them for cosmetic reasons. There's a different argument for relaxing them if you've got tension headaches and chronic neck pain. But yeah, Barbie Botox, again, a bit of a trend. Botox is a medical procedure. I don't think we should necessarily trivialize it in that way.
You're quite right. Are there any other trends that you've seen that you just would like to just disappear forever?
Just people not wearing sunscreen, like I've said. It's a basic one, but just really, really annoying me at the moment.
I don't understand what this whole misinformation is really about. It's very careless.
Well, it's tanning. Tans have become trendy again, which is a shame.
Yeah.
And so therefore people want a tan and people want a real tan. And there's just this refusal to accept or acknowledge that the sun damage that you see and the people that look really sun damaged in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, that's because they've been sunbathing.
And some people that have been sunbathing since, their late teens and have not been applying SPF, they're now in their 60s. You can tell that they've been doing that. You can 100% tell.
And also, those are the patients that come to me. They all regret it.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wish I could do like an event in clinic or something and pair the younger patients with the older patients.
Now they're like, I need a facelift,
And it's really hard to undo all of that sun damage. So yeah,
extremely hard.
That's one thing that's really annoying me is this tanning, this kind of shift towards tanning culture.
They'll probably still go away and sunbathe. Like in the sun, like blistering sun. So,
I know.
Yeah, anyways. If you could invent a viral trend that is actually going to benefit patients, what would it be?
Put sunscreen in everything.
Just literally everything.
Everything's got SPF in it.
It is quite cool to use sunscreen though. Like now it should be a thing where it's actually a cool thing to do.
You put fluoride in the water, can we not just put SPF in the air? Like what?
Well, there are some cities out there that have actually made like sunscreen dispensers available.
Well, they're quite popular in Australia.
Of course, and Cork in Ireland, that's another one.
Amazing.
which is ironic that Ireland did it before the south of the UK.
Very pale skin.
Yes. But the south of the UK, we do get a lot of sun in the summer months. It'd be great to see that in London. It would be great. But there's probably a few other things that London needs to solve before they start putting sunscreen.
But we put it high up the list.
It definitely is a priority. You offer quite a few really innovative treatments and technologies in clinic. Few that you've already told me about off camera. You're big into offering regenerative treatments such as like polynucleotides, and you said that your patients are really receptive to these types of treatments. Is there a specific treatment that you offer in clinic that you are genuinely really excited about, when it comes to the results that it can deliver?
Probably biostimulators, and this is not a new treatment. And this is very interesting about regenerative aesthetics. It's not new.
Yeah.
It's become trendy.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this shift. But when we think about biostimulators, so products like Radiesse and Sculptra, they've been around for decades.
Yeah.
And the science has been there.
Yeah.
People are just using them again and discovering them. So I use a lot of, for example, Radiesse in clinic.
Okay.
And I just see phenomenal results with that. My patients love it.
Yeah.
And the results get better with time.
Yep.
So I think this shift towards regenerative aesthetics is brilliant. Polynucleotides, another great treatment we do loads of, exosomes, and I love to do combinations. So we'll often combine these things, maybe with laser, maybe with RF microneedling, all of these kind of collagen boosting treatments. But it's not a new technology. I'm very excited about them all. And I'm excited that people are adopting them again. But I think to kind of say regenerative aesthetics is brand new is which I know keeps being said, is not actually.
It's a good trend.
Yeah, it's a trend. Well, like you say, trends. It's a trend. It's a trend.
It definitely is.
Suddenly, like, fillers are out and regenerative treatments are in. But there'll be another trend and there'll be another trend cycle.
Things go in cycles. It's like if you view fashion, for example, fashion always goes in cycles. Things that were big in the 90s are actually making a comeback now.
Yeah.
So it definitely goes in cycles. It's the same with any industry.
But we need to be careful because our faces are, we have one face. So it's not like changing your wardrobe, is it?
We shouldn't guinea pig our own face.
No, exactly.
Definitely not.
And that's the one thing I worry about with trends.
Yeah, 100%. Especially trends that can damage skin health. It can really give you perioral dermatitis, which is a lot, I think, of younger patients because they're trying so many different products.
They're using too much. Yeah.
It's overstimulating their skin, and their skin just can't recover from that at all. And you mentioned the likes of polynucleotides, exosomes, and fillers not being as cool as they were, let's say, 5 years ago. Do you think that those types of treatments will replace fillers?
No. And this is a big bugbear of mine. Fillers are not going anywhere. When we're talking about what happens to the face as we age, we lose volume. That is one of the key things that we see. And nothing will replace volume other than volume.
Yes.
Whether that's, if you see a surgeon, they might do fat transfer, that's permanent. Or you might do hyaluronic acid or some other type of dermal filler, which is not permanent. So to my mind, that's a great option.
Yeah.
And fillers are really vilified when you see the bad results. But for everyone that looks terrible, there are 9 or 10 other people that look great.
I agree.
And you don't know that they've had fillers. And I have this conversation with patients every day, and I'm like, please, it's not the fillers that make people look weird, it's the person injecting them. Yeah. So I don't think that regenerative aesthetics is going to replace traditional treatments like dermal fillers. I think that it can complement them brilliantly. And I don't think we should just be using volume replacement because, again, that's when people start to look weird. If all you're trying to do is like pump up a beach ball of someone's face to smooth out the lines and wrinkles, that doesn't look good. It looks
very strange.
It looks strange.
Yeah.
But when they're used in conjunction with newer technologies, I think they'll always have a place.
Yeah.
And I still do a lot of fillers in clinic. And I hope will continue to do so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like, do you remember the whole like teaspoon analogy where it's like it's got the amount of filler on a teaspoon and it just shows that like 5 mils of filler isn't actually as much as you might think it actually is?
No, but I also, what frustrates me about those kind of things is sometimes you see patients coming in requesting certain volumes of filler or certain areas of the face.
It's often,
and everyone's face is very different, so what we did with 4 or 5 mils of filler for your friend might be very different than what we can do with that for you. That might be not enough. That might be far too much.
Yeah, 100%.
So filler needs to be trusted, but you need to trust it in the right hands.
Yeah, I agree with you. So if you look ahead towards the next 5 or 10 years, where do you think we will be when it comes to what treatments we'll be performing? I mean, it's obviously difficult to predict the future because there'll be new things developed all the time. But where do you see definitely in the next 5 to 10 years, where are we all shaping up to be?
Well, I think whilst it might be a trend, I don't think regenerative treatments are necessarily going anywhere because some of these technologies, like I've said, have been around for a long time and they're great and they're evidence-based as well because we've maybe got decades of data to support their use. So I don't think they're going anywhere. I think patient perception of treatments is changing. So I think it's not everywhere, but increasingly in most places becoming much more acceptable to have aesthetic treatments, actually at a younger age as well. So whilst it's difficult to predict what a treatment menu might look like in 10 years, I think more and more people are probably going to be having treatments in 10 years. Therefore, hopefully, you know, we will have some regulation by that point to safeguard all of those people that are accessing treatments, particularly if they're doing so at a younger age.
You would think so. But I did see one practitioner who was like, I've been in the industry for 20 years. They were promising regulation 10 years ago. They're saying the same thing now. I
think the problem is, though, it's just this exponential growth, isn't it? Yeah. And now we've had what a lot of clinicians who've been around for much longer than I have have been warning about for years and years, which was someone dying as a result of a procedure, and then this recent botulism outbreak. And there are people in the UK who've been saying this is going to happen for a long time.
Because there's more and more people being able to do it without any consequences. It's a very accessible industry.
So I feel like now there's whatever government is in power has no choice but to put something in place, because now you've got people that have come to tangible, legitimate harm. So it's very difficult to ignore. It's very different from a hypothetical.
100%. So you focus on the internal impact that the human body has when treating the external, let's say, viewpoint that the patient has. How important do you think lifestyle really plays in the whole, external appearance of a patient?
Oh, it's crucial. It's vital. I think you can't have one without the other. Yeah. So we're very, in the Stockbridge Clinic, into kind of a very integrated approach. We've got quite a big weight management clinic. Moving into 2026, we're looking at introducing a lot more kind of wellness services. So, hormone clinics and kind of more performance optimization stuff. Because whilst you said, obviously, Edinburgh's maybe not quite up to speed with London, there's definitely a shift towards patients wanting those services.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think you can't focus on the external without thinking about the internal. It's really not cool and it's really boring to say it, but we know that aging well is eating well, exercising, getting sleep, minimizing stress, not smoking, protecting yourself from the sun. Yeah. All of these things make a real tangible difference. So I think you can't discuss, the aesthetics industry aging well and what that looks like whilst ignoring kind of what we do to our bodies. Yeah,
it's so important. So you mentioned weight management. GLP-1s, they've had a bit of a mixed rep in the media, I think. Yeah. You would have probably seen some amazing case studies from patients where, because they've been on a GLP-1, they have had complete lifestyle changes.
Yes.
Their whole world has, turned around for the best. What do you think about, let's say, GLP-1s, because they are available on the NHS, but they're only available to some patients on the NHS, and I think it's quite difficult to get them on the NHS. Yeah. So a lot more people that maybe necessarily don't qualify for the NHS are going private to source them. What are your views on the misuse of GLP-1s?
I think it's definitely a problem. So if you look at, in the UK, the availability of them, they're actually very available. We've got all these online pharmacies. And I know anecdotally from what patients have told me, or what friends of friends have told me, or what I've heard when I'm in A&E and people have come in and they've said they're taking this, and I look at them and think, really? You do not look like a patient that should be on this. Yeah. What they've said is that they're very easy to access via these online pharmacies. In clinic, we have quite a robust assessment process. We'll see patients in person, we'll do bloods if needed. Our clinicians won't prescribe if they don't meet the kind of NICE criteria for starting one of those treatments for weight loss.
And what is the criteria?
So you have to have a certain BMI, and that varies dependent on your ethnic background, because we know that we think there are different metabolic risk profiles for people with different ethnic origins. Okay. So you need a certain BMI, and then depending on your BMI, you might need what we call weight-related comorbidities. So that might be something like high blood pressure as a result of being overweight, pre-diabetes, problems with sleeping, things like that. But we get a lot of patients inquiring to start the treatment that are not suitable, and we say no. Okay. I suspect those patients probably go and find the drug elsewhere. So I think it definitely is misused. And the problem is, because they're relatively new drugs in this sphere, they're drugs, we have to remember that we're treating pathology. So there are side effects, there are potential risks. if we're weighing those against the risks of being overweight for a long time,
Totally.
I think that can be a really positive decision to use one. But if you're someone that's just using it to kind of maybe drop a few dress sizes and you shouldn't really be on it in the first place, I think that's when we're maybe seeing the way that they shouldn't be used.
Yeah, no, definitely. So in your opinion, what matters more for confidence? How someone, let's say, looks in the mirror or how they feel internally?
I think you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. They go hand in hand.
They
definitely.
go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because we see this transformation in patients. You know, we do a treatment to their face and the way they feel changes. People come in because of often a life trigger, an emotion. You know, maybe it's a separation, maybe their son, daughter grows up and suddenly they realise they don't recognise themselves in the mirror. Maybe it's a bereavement, maybe it's a promotion, whatever it is. And then you do a treatment for them and they hold themselves differently in whatever aspect of life that prompted them to come in was. So I think they're linked. They're always going to be linked.
I like that. You definitely can't have one without the other.
You can't have one without the other, yeah.
You're right. What is the biggest myth that you've heard when it comes to Botox and fillers and regenerative treatments that you would like to bust?
Probably that it's the treatments that make you look weird. It's not. It's the person that's holding the syringe.
Yeah.
Fillers don't make you look fake. Injectors do.
Yeah.
What I say to patients is that cars don't cause car accidents. Drivers do.
Yeah.
So with the same syringe of filler, 2 different injectors could make the same person look very different. So I think you've got to find the right person to treat you. That is the most important thing. Beyond the treatment, beyond the product they're using, beyond the technology they've got, beyond how flashy their clinic is. In the right hands, they're brilliant. So I guess the biggest myth is don't be afraid of them, because in the right hands, they are really powerful.
We touched on skincare hacks and non-hacks, I guess. Is there one skincare hack that you would just like patients to just stop doing?
Probably using too many products.
Yeah.
Like you alluded to, particularly young patients.
Yeah.
There's this trend for kind of 10-step skincare routines.
Less is more, right?
Less is more. And when you see patients with compromised barriers, they come in and you look at their skin and you're like, oh my gosh, they're using 4 or 5 barrier repair products to try and improve their skin. And it's just overwhelming it.
I agree.
So yeah, I think less is more. Follow the science. Don't just use something because your favorite influencer talked about it. Think, well, what does that ingredient do? Do we have data for it? Does that work for my skin?
Yep. Yeah.
And then don't make it at home yourself.
And don't try and do a potion with it yourself. No. That's not the thing to do. Let's not make our own
vitamin C serums. No, let's not do that.
Absolutely. Right, let's run through a quite fun, rapid fire round. So what is one beauty trend that you secretly like?
People going for a more natural look with their aesthetic treatments. I'm very here for it.
Yeah.
I love to dissolve badly done filler.
That's one of your
it's very
hobby. You really enjoy it.
I mean, I shouldn't say this, but some patients I would just do it for free because it just definitely.
Is it painful to get filler dissolved?
No.
Sometimes I think people think it's going to be excruciatingly painful. It's not painful. No. Do you have to numb the area?
Yeah, you can.
But typically you don't require any anaesthetic?
No, the hyaluronidase with the enzyme that breaks down the filler, I actually mix it with lidocaine, so it numbs the area anyway, so it's,
So if you've had a botched job, don't be scared, it can
No, we can definitely fix it. And it's my favourite thing to do in the day is fixing some botched filler. It's very satisfying.
Is there one product that you have in your bathroom cabinet you can't live without?
Ooh, one. Probably my SkinCeuticals vitamin C serum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. 3 words that define healthy aging.
Probably kind of individualised, medically led confidence. I mean, that's 4 words. There's a hyphen between medically led.
I need to extend that to 4 words because I think quite a lot of the time people do come out with 4 words. So I'll have to expand the scope of that slightly.
So I mean by that, seek out treatments that are going to make you feel confident, and that's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And they should always be medically led because that's what's going to keep you safe.
Absolutely. If you could swap clinics with one person for one day, who would it be and why?
There's so many people that I would choose. I've mentioned already, so this is going to sound like a weird stalkery thing, and I promise it's not, but I would love to, not even swap, just shadow Kate Goldie.
Yeah.
Because she does so much with regenerative aesthetics, and she was such a pioneer in that I think, I'm sure I'd pick up some pearls of wisdom. Although I'm not sure her patients would want to be treated by me if they were expecting her.
Queen of regenerative medicine.
That's
she
it,
is. She's been doing it for a long, long time, and she's fab, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Would agree with you
probably,
on
but
that
there are so many people that I'd love to shadow or swap clinics with. It's hard to choose.
And you know what? I think the best thing about our industry is you can learn so much from different different practitioners, and a lot of the time practitioners are really happy to share their wisdom, their
100%.
experience with everybody, which is amazing.
It can be quite an isolating field in the sense of we're practicing independently. And whenever I have a conversation about a tricky case or ask for advice from a colleague, I always learn something new.
So we are now going to blind rank certain treatments in order of how good you rate them. Okay? Between 1 and 5. So I'm going to just say the name of the treatment and you just give it a number. 1 obviously being top, 5 is towards the lower end of the scale. Okay?
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. 3D HIFU.
4.
Sculptra.
3.
Exosomes.
2.
Polynucleotides.
I wish I knew what was coming next. I don't know. 1. We'll go for 1. I love polynucleotides.
Okay. Fat freezing.
5. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
That's a good order.
Yeah.
I would probably agree with you on all of that.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't even know what was coming.
I didn't know. I genuinely didn't know. That was stressful. Yeah. I agree.
You did that very well.
I agree with that, yeah.
You definitely, you know how I said, I don't think you can predict the future. Like, I don't know, I might have to take that back now.
Yeah, well, clearly. You asked us for future treatment menus.
Yeah, this is it. We know what's not going to be in those treatment menus. Fat freezing. So thank you so much for being such a fantastic guest.
Thank you for having me.
I absolutely love your analogies and how you explain things in a way that the consumer can really understand and relate to what you're saying. So thank you for being an amazing guest. If any of the listeners would like to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you?
So, I mean, if you want to pick my brains about anything, I'm very happy to be contacted on Instagram. I'm at Dr Ben TD on Instagram. Or if anyone wants to see me or any of the rest of my wonderful team in clinic, you can find us at stockbridgeclinic.com.
Thank you so
much.
And
Edinburgh's a great day trip.
So
even if you don't live there, come for the day and see us anyway.
It's brilliant. You could set up a tour and everything. Castle, do that.
We're very close to the castle. There you go.
The castle's beautiful. Edinburgh's a beautiful place. So absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.